I have seen absolutely everything. And the beauty is because I've been immersed in the world of selling, in the world of no for so long, now it feels like it just like rolls off your shoulder and it's not so hard. But to get to that point, like you have to go through the ringer. I would be in my car and I remember just having to like get my mind in the right place. And I didn't know about podcasts and all this like really positive personal development input that I could have. And I would go throughout the day, really having a lot of rejection, people yelling at me. I would deal with people who didn't want to speak to women. This was, 6 or 7 years ago. And some cultures, like they didn't want to deal with women sales reps. So there was so many different places of turmoil, but that was my job. So I just had to do it day in, day out. The way that I started to think of it was, if I could get 100 no's a week, so, 20 calls a day, 5 days a week, 100 no's, that's at least 100 people that I've started these conversations with. And so in my mind, just because somebody has said no once, I didn't believe that that meant no forever. And I at least started the process. So instead of it being like, oh my gosh, I don't know what they're going to say, now I at least have a no, which then starts the conversation of like, okay, why? Tell me more, right? So then you can start diving into their objections and like figuring out what they actually mean when they say no, what they actually value that would get them closer to a yes. This might not be a no based on me. Like people aren't saying no to me, Bond. They're saying no to like an offer that I put out there, or they're saying no, this doesn't fit within my cash flow right now. And so having people that can remind you that people aren't rejecting you, they're rejecting, a business offer, that makes the blow a little bit softer when you do hear no. And then it's just a matter of like continuously trying to iterate on your sales process, because like once you go through the same conversations so many times, you start to identify those patterns. Once you go through a process with a new client, a new application, speaking, anything like that, once you've been through the process once, you learn how to navigate it better the next time. Go back and look at your life. If you're afraid to sell or if you're afraid to hear no now, I want to encourage you to like go back and look and realize how much you've already flexed that muscle along the way. Sure, it might not be picking up the phone and having sales calls to like land a new service client, or it might not be getting on sales calls to put people into a new program, but like really take the time to reflect back on your past and realize that you do have that tenacity muscle built up in different ways. Every input, every no, every yes, every piece of feedback is just data. So when you can remove the emotionalness, that's not a word, but I'm rolling with it. If you can remove the emotions from the equation and just look at it like zeros and ones, data, feedback, you can then start to see the patterns that feedback is trying to tell you. When I hear a yes or no, instead of it being an emotional response, it allows me to look at that like data. Okay, This is a no. So then what X variables happen after? Okay, why is it a no? We got to figure that out. So narrow it down. In my mind, there was something that was stopping me. There was a fear of not being enough in that transaction for that client. I felt like I didn't have enough experience. So I actually self-sabotaged and ended up with a no in that instant. So they came back with just general questions to ask because they want to know more. They want to be an informed purchaser. They want to be informed about our client relationship. And I brushed it off. I didn't answer emails. I got back to them extremely late. I made excuses to why I was traveling. And in the back of my head, I was like, Bond, what are you doing? Like, this is a lot of money on the table. And this is a lot of, potential, because working with this person and having them as one of your clients is great social proof. And it was just one of those things that like, looking back, it was my fault. I self-sabotaged to the point where they're like, well, obviously we're not going to hire her. So I got a no because of my behavior in that sales process. Trust in your abilities of where you're at in your business. If people are talking to you, especially if they're outreaching to you, that is a huge indicator that you're doing something right. And then you just go back to the data, right? Like then you just go back to, okay, what am I doing right? How can I show up? Like, is this a right fit for me? Is it aligned? Yes. Okay. Is it not? Just be honest with them. Trust the process of all of this. Sometimes you just got to like check in with your gut and your intuition, and it's going to tell you to do something weird, or you're going to self-sabotage along the way. But show up for that growth process, that personal development that comes with it, because everything's happening to you to lead you to your next like stage of business growth.